He's like, we're just going to agent every part of the company. And I said, okay, good luck with that. It was very clear that they didn't know anything about marketing.
That's Marc Ferrentino, co-founder and CEO of Quotient. Previously the chief technical architect at Salesforce and president of Yext, Marc knows a thing or two about driving marketing results with better tech.
The marketer who knows how to use AI is a 100x marketer. That's the person we want on the team.
And as somebody deeply embedded in the world of AI marketing, Marc shares his hard-earned lessons on where AI can actually deliver value today versus where it's still just hype.
Companies that come out and claim to be your AI CMO. I can't stand that when people do that. I think that is the most misleading marketing, but it's also just not true.
Also in this episode, we explore the collapse of specialized marketing roles, why standard hiring practices simply don't work in the AI era, and the realities around ageism faced by go-to-market veterans. Welcome to Topline.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Jacobs. Welcome to Topline. I was away last week. I'm back. This time AJ is the one that's not here, but we do have my co-founder of Topline Media and my co-host Asid Zaman. He's the CEO of Sales Talent Agency, or STA for short.
STA.
And we're excited to have on the show Marc Ferrentino. Marc is the co-founder and CEO of Quotient, an AI marketing platform, and he's a technology entrepreneur with more than 25 years of experience building enterprise software companies. He was early at Salesforce. He was chief technical architect there, later serving as CTO of SaaS at BMC Software. He founded retail analytics company Nomi, and most recently served as president and COO of Yext. Marc holds a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan, and he studied statistics at Columbia. Marc, welcome to Topline.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sad. Appreciate you
to
guys taking the time.
I failed statistics twice in university, and then I changed my program to one that didn't have statistics.
Yeah.
But you played poker professionally, so we know that you're probably good with
I was
numbers.
an instance guy there. I was an instance guy.
That's all the stats you need. It's just,
I think this guy is
know the probabilities.
We're excited to have you, Marc. You're building something really interesting. And so when I was researching it, I realized there's a lot to talk to you about go-to-market because the space in which you're building. And the thing that's been so top of mind is the future of marketing, and you're building an AI marketing platform. And so would love to get your thoughts on this. I break this topic down as to where we are today and where things are going. And the frame is that AI has, on the B2B side, two really good use cases today: support and code. Code is better than support, but those are the two places where we are product market fit. Everywhere else, it's kind of wishy-washy. But number three is marketing, right? You hear a lot of people talking about. That's what we're hearing. That's what we're seeing. We had Gaurav from ClickUp, and he was talking about, he's the COO there, and he was talking about how their marketing team's using it. And it's undeniable that there is some sort of impact that it's having that seems to be quite favorable. So maybe just like you're in it, help us see that if you take a company that's the most progressive company using AI in marketing today, what's happening there? What are they doing? What's working?
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of nailed it, is that sort of the value from AI has occurred for software developers mainly. And it has not really happened for anyone else. Yes, I guess customer support also, but I think maybe tier one, not, fully.
And
but
you're
it's
just
definitely
like
getting
comparing bad AI with like a basic minimum wage call center worker. So it's not really a high bar anyway, right?
No, exactly. Exactly. You've either outsourcing it to another country or you're outsourcing it to AI. But it's sort of maybe potentially at the same quality level. I don't know. I'm not in that space as much, obviously, as I spend time in marketing. It's funny, my pitch actually right now is basically to marketers like, hey, the engineers have had all the fun. They've reaped all the rewards. It's time for you to reap the reward, Mr. Marketer. That's literally my pitch. And actually, it's funny because it works. In that I try to say, listen, ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to 10x the marketer. And so what I'm seeing right now is there's sort of a hype, and then there's the reality. The hype is, companies that come out and claim to be your AI CMO. I can't stand that when people do that. I think that is the most misleading marketing, but it's also just not true, right? And it's also completely off-putting for a marketer to hear that. Like, no, the marketer turns out wants to be the CMO, not the AI. So what I'm seeing is that where it's working, and this is where we focus on, is really when you look at the day of the marketer, and I've run marketing teams now. I have a marketing reporting to me for the last 15 years of my career. And when I look at my marketing teams through the years, there's like 70% of their day is filled with busy work. Just, cutting and pasting between systems, UTM tag tracking, just like, just all sort of like really like annoying things that just don't feel like value add. And they're not focusing on the strategy, they're not focusing on the messaging, the positioning, the campaign calendar as much as they'd like. And that's ultimately what they got into the business for. They love the part of how do you express this concept to people, right? But they're not spending their time on that. They're spending their time on wrestling with 10 different systems. And so I think the first promise that we can make to people right now, that AI can make to marketers, is that we can remove the busy work from you, right? We can remove the tedium. I feel like when I'm selling every day is I'm selling the removal of all the grunt work and all the tedium from your day. And
And
if
what
that's
is
all I can
what's an
do, then that's
example of like
perfect.
2 or 3 pieces of grunt work that take up many hours a day of
Yeah.
a marketer of some sort?
So typically a marketer is sitting between 4 or 5 different systems. So just
Yeah.
simply pulling together a campaign, pulling together all the assets, creating the assets, putting them all under a single in the respective systems, making sure they all go out on time, making sure that the execution and delivery goes out on time, coalescing making sure everything has the right tags, that has the right analytics tags, making sure that all that information is coming back into a central place. Like that marketing ops stuff is the first, I think, domino to fall that's going to fall, that is falling. And yeah, that stuff, like it's a lot. It adds up. It adds up, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's individually, none of them, each one of those things don't seem very difficult or very taxing, but when you add them up over a period of time, not to mention the constant context switching that has to happen along the way, yeah, it adds up. It starts to really create a drag on the system and drag on marketers, right? Ultimately. And they're not systems people. They're supposed to be, they want to create. They want to be able to work with the customer, understand the customer, and express the value of the product that they're selling.
I found that with AI, there's very little happening where you can replace an employee, where you can say, this person is not needed anymore, right? And yes, these companies are leaner, and you can get more with each person, but you can't get rid of a particular type of person. I think that's an important distinction, meaning that you might need 3 developers instead of 6, but you don't not need a developer, right? Is that kind of the case here as well, where it's not going to be that there's any one thing in marketing? Like, it's not like product marketing will now be done by AI, or performance marketing, you can kind of hand it off and have, it's going to be, the individual person will be a bit more productive, but you will still need the same sort of org design.
I'd say that's 100% true. That is exactly right. It's not that you are replacing someone or you don't need to hire someone. It's that you're making it's really, I mean, most technology has been a productivity tool for pretty much all of our lives. I think for all of mankind, this is just another step in that productivity. We're making the human way more productive, and that's where we are today. I think that's where the technology is today. That's where the AI is today. It's taking that person who now can do more, they can accomplish more, they can be more productive. And I think there's a principle. What is it, Jabon's principle? Is that there's a need, there's a capacity, there's a want to be better, to do your job better, and they just have not had the resources to do their jobs at the level that they know they can do. And so the AI is allowing them finally to be the marketers that they've always wanted to be. And I know that probably that sounds like shtick. I mean, yes, that sounds like a pitch, but it's not really a pitch. It's actually true in that, like, okay, now I can maybe have a content strategy. Maybe I can run 3 programs instead of 1, or instead of 0. I know I wanted to do a newsletter, but I just didn't have the time or the resources to do it. But now I do have that time to do that. Or I want to put together a series of lead magnets, right? I didn't have the people and at the time. I had the want to do it, but I just
Let me
couldn't
give
do
you
it
the
before, and now I
pushback
can.
that you probably hear this in market of some sort across all of these like arguments that we make. And I'm curious to get your thought of this, because I'm unsure, but I'll make the argument as if I'm sure. The pushback is that in marketing, especially on the performance marketing side, it seems like every couple of years there's some sort of an unlock that creates this new opportunity. You had it with uh, mass marketing, like the email marketing stuff that was happening, sales engagement, etc. Right? For a minute, there's an edge to be found, and then everybody finds it. right? Everybody does SEO. Everybody can run ads. Everybody can send out 1,000 emails. And so the advantage goes away. And so you end up doing a lot more volume for similar results. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on, is this something that is going to give companies an advantage? Or is it, hey, the new level is going to be this? You're going to have to do a lot more just to get this much revenue. And you need to quickly figure out what that lot more is. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. Is it that actually that we're just a new base level is getting set around how much we need to do to create every dollar of pipeline, every dollar of revenue? And our competitors are going to be doing all these things. We need to quickly come to terms with this new world and the amount of volume required of output from us to be able to compete that.
That sounds right
That's
to
an,
me.
that's an excellent. It's an excellent question. Funny, the awful truth of marketing is that we only add channels, we don't remove them. We always, everyone says, oh well, the new thing's going to be X or the new thing's going to be Y, and the reality is that yes, that new thing does exist, and we all sort of run to it, but you don't get to actually stop doing the old thing. So unfortunately, that's what's made marketing so complex over the years. Is that there's always every few years there's a new channel, every few years there's a new way, there's a new edge, there's a new something. I would say that in this incarnation of things, the edge goes to the small business in that the large companies are already doing sort of everything across the board. They're just doing it with people. Maybe they could be doing it better. Maybe they could be doing it broader. And I see the lift with AI is going to be smaller at the larger company than the lift is at the smaller company. What I'm seeing, at least at this smaller company, is that they weren't even this assumption that everyone was doing everything correctly, that everyone was doing marketing fully is that's a falsehood. They were not. They were in many cases they just don't have the people, the time, the resources to potentially to do the things that they wanted to do to even begin to raise the bar. So what I'm seeing is just smaller teams being able to actually deliver now what a larger team has been able to deliver for a long time, which I think is a good thing. It's a great thing actually.
My team, sort of to the point of Asid's question earlier, it's not that the functions of product marketing or lifecycle marketing or demand gen are going away, but I am hearing from my team that they have more interest in being general marketers, and that they feel the leverage that AI gives them is the ability to be cross-functional within the context of marketing, as opposed to I need somebody to run product marketing, I need somebody to run demand gen, I need somebody to run brand and comms. That we might not get rid of the marketing team will exist, but the role of the people within the team will be more cross-functional because the additional intelligence of how to do that function
That's
will be embedded
interesting.
within AI, as
Yeah.
opposed to a discrete functional discipline. In the same way, and I know Asid's talked about this, design pods or sort of product pods. There's a question of, does it go to the UX person? Does it go to the designer? Or does it go to the product manager? Each of those people thinks the other two are idiots and that they should have been the one running the show the whole time. I think I see the collapse of specialization within a particular function that doesn't diminish the need for the function, but does create an opportunity for those that are more fluent in
Yeah.
all of these cross-functional tools to be effective.
You know why that's really interesting, Sam? Is that marketing's this really interesting function where everybody's career starts highly specialized and they would become generalized over time. So by the time you become a CMO, you need to be able to think through all the pieces of marketing. You need to have a point of view on demand gen and brand and product marketing. But your career probably started in one of those areas. And so you would find CMOs that spike in one of those areas. If you were a late stage company, you would hire the CMO that spikes in brand. And if you were an early stage company, you would hire the CMO that spikes in product marketing and demand gen. And
Yep.
I find that because of those early 10, 15 years where they're quite specialized, these like habits settle in and it does constrain their careers and their ability to have impact. And I think it's part of the reason why there's a revolving door for executives in marketing at high growth tech companies. Because even if you're good, you fulfill your use quite quickly because the company moves to the next stage where they need the next thing and you just aren't. And so this might actually be really good for the future marketers where they have like this broader skill set and worldview where they can think about brand at the same time as the performance side and balance these two things well.
I think you're
Yeah.
right,
I,
Asid. I think the challenge, what I see, but Mark would obviously, you talk to more marketers than we do, but we do talk
I,
to a lot of marketers.
yeah.
What I see is that the apprenticeship model is the thing that's most at risk. That when you came up through a specific vertical, at least we could trust that you truly were an expert on brand or you truly were an expert on product marketing. And I think what I'm seeing now is that the expertise that people seek is technical expertise, which is going to track probably most closely to like demand gen. But
Yeah.
what it's going to mean, and not to parrot some of these people that I find really oppressively annoying, like that guy Liam, but that there is going to be a lack of classically trained marketers. Everybody will be the technical wonk that knows how to plug in all the systems and send 1,000 emails, and they will think that is what marketing is. And the risk is potentially that there's nobody that really has the full comprehension of what marketing is as an overall discipline. I think the counter argument to that is this is just the way the world goes, and this is, there'll be a counterbalance to that as well.
The counter argument is actually that there's a world in which 5 years from now, as models get better and breakthroughs happen, that performance marketing side is kind of like, Iron Man Jarvis, where you like it's just managed, right? Because it's relatively like you can stretch your brain and be like, that's going to be done that way. And I think all companies will be able to do that quite effectively. Sam, your company, my company, etc. We'll be able to get those performance marketing things just done. Um, but then the real edges will come from, I think, brand. Like things like narrative, brand, storytelling, all
Yeah.
of the creative side of things. Clay is really good at the creative side. And you can see how, as they've gained more and more size and scale, like how the creative muscle has been a real comparative advantage for them compare
100%.
Clay to any of the companies that used to be in and around that space. It's such a more fun, attractive brand. And I think that's given them an edge. So I think it's maybe what is required of people will force people in that direction. Because it's like, eventually, if you just have to press a button and the performance stuff gets done, like, well, being that person, the button pusher is not a very viable career
Well,
path.
you're referring to the operational side of it again. I mean, why do we have channel expertise in many cases? We have it because it takes that level of expertise to run email or to run ads or to run, social. Um, a lot of that expertise is just sort of knowing the nuance of each one of those platforms, and the sort of the interfaces, right? Well, okay, let's say that disappears, which is what you're articulating, which is, I think it is disappearing in many ways in a good way. What's left is still the strategy, still the narrative. It's still still the part that we all like. I would much rather spend my day thinking about the narrative, the brand, how do we talk about things, trying experiments. And yes, it'd be great if I can just simply engage an agent to do the execution of my experiment, but I'm the one coming up with the experiment. I'm coming up with the 5 experiments. And maybe I have a thought partner in the AI who's helping me think through these experiments. But then the execution of the experiment, the boring part, the tedious part, is in fact handled by the AI. That's a nice world to live in. And I don't think that's really anyone's losing necessarily any expertise there. I don't know that the benefit of someone becoming an expert in the meta ads interface is, other than, learning how to use a terrible UI, you know, or learning how to go into
But
an
you
email
are
system
talking
and
about
learn.
like hundreds, like if you look at the amount of people in marketing, like let's say there's 16 million people that work in tech in the US,
Yeah.
30-ish% that go to market. Of them, probably, 1/4 are probably marketing. And so that's fair amount of people, of whom there's
Yeah.
so many of these. And I think it's going to be interesting what the size of the marketing pool looks like down the line, as these things get done for you. And the need is more on the brand side, is the narrative, the strategy, the brand stuff. It's very few people that can be good at that stuff. You see this right now, like go on LinkedIn and you just scroll. And like, I find that for the longest time, my feed was like the same 5 ghostwriters just fighting with each other. Like they were just like, that was my feed.
Alec
And
Paul versus Sam McKenna.
yeah, like they were just going hard. Like, and now it's like them plus Claude plus a bunch of like response agents. The response agents are so bad. They're so bad.
Oh, they're
And the
horrible.
funniest thing is you see like all these people that are marketers, they use this stuff, and there's like a lack of taste that is just you see on LinkedIn's feed. You realize what a big problem it is. So it makes me really wonder like how many people will be good at what the future is required. Like, will we even have enough of that? That'll be interesting.
I mean, taste is always, I mean, whether we have AI or not, taste matters, right? You could say it's more, I don't think it's more important per se. I think it's always been important. It's just a matter of, if other things are taken care of for you, then taste sort of rises as a level of importance. But I don't,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, it's only because of these other things that are now
That's
maybe
actually a
taken
really
care of for
interesting
you.
point.
So that's why taste is becoming more important, or at least it feels like it's more important. It's always been important. I mean, it's not like a terrible brand is a terrible brand. It was a terrible brand 20 years ago. It's a terrible brand today. You know,
I think like
AI doesn't make it more terrible or less terrible. So
I think there's something in what you just said. Like Sam, the idea of like boredom leads to taste sometimes. Like I remember like a lot of the moments in my life where I had time to wonder is where I developed what I think is good taste. Look at me just patting myself on the back. But it's like if you were just like
a great man once quoted, he once said, "It was me."
I think it's like maybe there's something in like the future world where we have more time to wonder. Maybe more people develop taste than they've had the opportunity to do right now.
I think
Yeah,
that's the muscle and the discipline, and Mark would love to hear your thoughts on it, is there's this pendulum that happens as more things are possible. One argument, one talk track is as more things as possible, the threshold for experimentation and for iteration goes down. So you can try more things and your canvas expands. Now, here's what I see in practice. What I see in practice is that people say that, but what they produce is more crap. They produce more slop. And all of a sudden, the ability to produce more stuff hasn't enabled anything because they are relying on the default copywriting of Claude. Everything is replete with M dashes. There's people I've seen that actively complain about AI slop, and then you read what they're actually writing, and it
and
is
AI wrote it.
AI slop.
Yeah.
And
You see the
even
Brian
Brian
Chesky
Chesky
tweet
today,
yesterday?
exactly. Brian
Oh my
Chesky
God.
like posted this thing about tokenization of
No.
contracts,
Oh
and it
my
was
God.
completely written by AI, and
And
everybody's
he's
like,
No,
supposed to be the
Brian.
taste guy,
he's the
right? Like,
design
Yeah,
guy.
he's the taste guy. I know.
design guy. So, yo, what
That's very
happened to
sad.
you, bro?
That is so sad. If that's, I don't want that to be true. Please don't tell me it's. Wow.
Well,
Well,
that's why like the way that it moves towards feels like what Asa was just saying, which is that boredom can create wandering, which can create taste or at least preference. Like we still need to train people on what to do with their day and how to spend their time. And prioritization still matters. Just because AI can do things doesn't mean you should run in 200 different directions all at once.
that's right. Yeah. I usually when I start with someone, if they have a marketing plan, great. If they don't, some of the smaller companies we work with, they're just starting to build it. And I say, okay, there's some baseline things you need. These are sort of your baseline things. You need a drum beat, you need content, you need to understand, like get out there, let people know who you are. I'm like, and then you can begin to play. That's once you have the foundation, then you begin to play. Well, every person I talk to didn't even have the foundation. So some of this, I know we talk, and especially in the tech world, we talk, everyone is doing everything right all the time. We're just trying to get like the bulk of businesses that exist out there outside of tech specifically, because we sell to a lot of companies outside of tech. Actually, we have a larger cohort of customers that are outside of tech,
Oh,
because
interesting.
there's a bigger need, as well, because they don't know what a GTM engineer is.
Yeah.
Only we have GTM engineers in our little circle. No one has
Don't
a
worry,
GTM
even we
engineer.
don't
And
have
like,
it.
yeah, well, exactly, right. Not even all of us have it, but like I'm on the phone with one of our customers who's in philanthropy, and like, if I said GTM engineer, what do you think the reaction was going
I
to be?
heard
They're
the
looking like
11
I'm
Labs
crazy.
talk about CEO talk about this. He's like, what we've done that's really everybody should think about doing this is we put an engineer in every function. We put an engineer in HR. We put
Yeah.
like, that's the rest of us are going to put
Do you think
engineers in every function.
exactly right? Do you think the shipping
P&Ls will
companies that we
catch
work with?
fire.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, it's insane. So they're not even doing the base stuff. So at some level, we're just sort of laying down that, and this is to the sort of the evolution of what we have to learn. Some people are just starting to be able to market for the first time. They're on on first base. They're not even out of the game. They haven't even begun to market. And so we're talking about sort of this advanced market or AI slop, and they can't even get like the basic stuff out the door. So I think what it does is it enables a group of people who the bulk, which represents the bulk of business in the United States, as much as we all like to think tech is every business. It enables them to just start marketing, period. Like never mind creating
Interesting.
slop or
Yeah.
even getting out of the gate. So that's a wonderful thing right there. But as far as like the slop thing, the slop is penalized. It already is penalized. On LinkedIn, you're talking about posts. There's the arms race is being fought, and I'm gonna tell you, the LinkedIn's of the world will probably win in the long run of that slop. And so the way that we typically tell people to get around that is we say, listen, every single post, you do not have the AI just blindly write the post. It needs to be your personality, your thoughts, your ideas. You speak to the agent, you talk to the agent, just stream of consciousness. Now, if you need help writing, the agent will take your thoughts, your personality, your everything, and it will write for you based on how your writing style. That's not AI slop, in my opinion. Maybe you guys define that as AI slop, but I don't think that's slop. That's my thoughts. Now, I'm unfortunately a terrible writer, just for the record. So this is a wonderful thing for me.
Here's the challenge with the writing part, which is such a big part of marketing, but it's such a big part of everything we do. I think if you don't know what good writing is, how are you going to edit it? So to you, it might look great because it's better than the crap you used to write before, right? Which is what we're noticing everywhere. Like if I look at my inbox, if I look at Substack, if I look at LinkedIn, Twitter is a little different. Like Twitter still has the energy of somebody's taking a shit and sends out a tweet while doing so. Like it still has that.
That's accepted also. Yes.
I think it's beautiful. Like it has that vibe. Everything else doesn't. And what you find is somebody who doesn't know it's bad because it's better than the crap that they used to put out before, whether it was just emails or whether it was something else.
But if it's them writing it and it's their bad, that's okay. That's authentic. That's what we want.
Yeah, but it's still
my point is
like it's just slop,
well,
right?
Well, hopefully, I'm saying it hopefully is the slop. Hopefully, it's like I said, their thoughts, their ideas. The thing I don't like is that there's certain companies that are in our sphere that we compete with, where they're like, oh, we have a system where we'll generate 14,000 blog posts for you. I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. That's slop to me. That's slop, right? Just pumping out stuff that no one reads, no one looks at. That is very different than I sit down on a Sunday night. I go through the news. I look at what's happening in the industry. I have my own thoughts, my own opinions, the things that I want to communicate. And then I'm there with my writing partner to iterate on my thoughts and getting them into written form and then getting them deployed. That doesn't feel, now you might define that as slop. I don't define that as slop.
I think it can still lead to slop. Like I think Brian Chesky is the perfect example of that. Like that is what that was, right? It was a really smart guy with a really interesting opinion, kind of going back and forth with the AI and saying, this seems ready, hit send. But to the outside very good AI world, when you read it, you're like, oh, that's a little off-putting. And so I think it's going to be interesting. Like people that have read when they were young and have developed a good taste for writing, I think they will have superpowers. Like Sam writes a weekly Substack. I think Sam has a great collaboration with his AI and researching it and structuring it and doing all of that. But Sam has read so much that he has good taste for writing, and hence it is really fun to read it. I think it just will be judged based on the objective truth of what is fun to read, what is nice to read, what's rewarding to read. Yeah. And very few people have that filter in themselves to be able to do that. Some tools will be better than others, but I think it's still going to be hard. Can I ask you a question? Like, as models get better, like what is 2027? How are you thinking about it? Like you're building in this space, right? So you've got something that is the amount of value you can provide with AI to a marketing team today. How do you think about following years? Because so much of what you can do is downstream of model improvement, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you think, like, what do you think in 2027 looks like? Best case scenario.
2027. So I think there's definitely two schools of thought out there about the sort of the pace of model innovation. I think we've obviously made incredible strides over the last few years, unbelievable strides. I am a Fable user just like you are. I did not see as much of a difference in Fable as I did from Opus. Someone could argue with me. I'm sure I'll get blown up on the internet about it, but I just didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I think the model starting is very much in code. It's not everywhere else. Like for the rest of us, it's like, yeah.
It's not right. It's not a thing. I'm not writing code every day. Exactly. But even like this, I've talked to some engineers and they're like, yeah, certain things not. The question is, are we starting to asymptote a little bit in the sort of the models? Obviously, there's lots of people who disagree with that. The industry wants to believe that it's just an infinite march towards super intelligence. The joke I always make is like, if we hit AGI, it's all over anyway. Everyone's business goes to zero. What's the point? I can't live in a world where we're like assuming that that's going to be the end game. What I assume is that we'll just be able to automate more and more tasks that we don't want to do on a daily basis. And so I think what we'll see in 2027 is just a more robust, form of automation, which is what the path we've been on for the last 50 years plus, or maybe even longer, right? Is just this march towards more and more automation, to, removing and abstracting low
What's the thing
value
you're most
tasks from the
excited to
equation.
automate?
Oh God, video. I swear to God, it's the one thing you can't do. I know you go on X and you see all these wonderful, like posts from from HeyGen, which I love as a company, by the way, A+ to those guys. Hyperframes and and remotion and stuff like that. It still takes taste, and it takes a ton of energy to make a beautiful video. It just does. I've tried it. I've literally sat there and said, I'm going to make a video now. Some of my videos on LinkedIn or on our channel are things that I made with remotion, some things I made with HeyGen and hyperframes. It still took me like 27 straight hours to to get it to look the way
It's
it did.
not
And
easy.
and
It's not like a
it
one
ain't that
shot.
good.
Yeah.
It's not. And so I would love to see, because that form of communication, I think it's just continuing to thrive and continuing to, maybe no one's going to read anymore. I'm not sure, but they're definitely going to watch videos. And so,
100%. I think that's cool.
how do we create them? How do people like me who have no artistic ability to create a video, to be able to put something together that doesn't look like garbage? And it's not even slop, because it's hard to do. So yeah, I would love to see more on that form in the next few years, obviously. I think just like having teams actually be able to have the entire marketing stack built for them, have it ready to go, have it be something that just works, have it be where they're maybe able to look at some data, actually able to, these are things that we all take for granted, I think, in tech, because we've got 50 marketers and GTM engineers and all these RevOps people. The rest of the country does not have that. The rest of the world, the business world, does not have those benefits. They don't. So if we can take something that was arguably reserved just for us tech elites here, and make it more available to other industries, I think that'd be a really major moment for what AI can do. Right? It's proliferating something that was really only something that we could afford. We have the margins to afford it.
And on that note, on this cool note, Sam, your favorite section of this show. We're back. We took a break last week, but this is...
You didn't do it last week?
We didn't do it last week. I didn't have time.
Quiz. Bro.
This one's
Explain to
different.
Mark what's happening.
This one's a trivia show.
Oh, great.
Trivia. It's usually data, but it's trivia.
You also eat schmuck appropriately, Mark, so I think you're one of us somehow.
I'm going to read out emails.
We're all a big melting pot here.
Yeah,
It's the best part of this. Yeah.
I'm going to read out emails written by some of our famous tech folks, and you guys will have to guess who wrote that email.
Oh my!
How fun! How fun! So the first email is: a founder says to another founder, "I guess we're not going to wait until the 5th to launch that strategy." And then the co-founder responds a few minutes later, "Apparently you don't understand how serious the situation is. We're getting killed out there. Our current product is radically worse than the competition. We've had nothing to say for months. As a result, we've lost over $3 billion in market capitalization. We're now in danger of losing the entire company, and it's all server product management's fault. Next time, do the fucking interview yourself. Fuck you, the person." Option 1, Elon Musk.
Whatever option is Mark Andreessen. He wrote that email.
No way. Did you just get it? That's amazing.
Am I right?
Well, I'm gonna have to pick harder ones. Yeah, that was Mark Andreessen.
Oh my God, Jesus, Sam, that's amazing.
Very good.
Because I think about those emails all the time. That was an email to Ben Horowitz, and it's like we've gone through this entire DEI woke thing, and meanwhile, like the emails they would send to each other are the nastiest, meanest things.
Where you say best regards, it was literally fuck you.
Fuck you.
It was really intense. I really thought about I was like, now if you sometimes write an email that's a bit dry, people complain they will Glassdoor review your ass and all this shit. It's like, oh my God.
Goes right on Glassdoor.
Things are a little bit flat then. Okay, this email. I think you guys will get this one, but let's see. It's a fun email. If an email is sent from me with explicit directions, there are only three actions allowed by managers. Option number 1, email me back to explain why what I said was incorrect. Sometimes I'm just wrong. Number 2, request further clarification if what I said was ambiguous. Number 3, execute the directions. If none of the above are done, the manager will be asked to resign immediately. Option 1. Option 1,
definitely
Sam
Elon.
Altman. Option
That feels
2,
like an Elon email. Yeah.
that is an Elon
you
email.
guys got it. I like
Yeah.
this because they're fun emails, but you guys are very good.
That's just
By
the
the way, I
resign
love that
immediately.
email.
That's definitely Elon.
There's this interesting thing where I think Elon has done the most I've seen in terms of, I'm going to ask you to resign. There's a lot of like, I will fire someone if they do something wrong. He like forces the resignation out of you. If you don't want to do this, I expect your resignation.
He's done it for some percentage of the U.S. government. Yeah, during his time. That was his big thing. It was that you choose. You
Overall, federal spending went up significantly. So Doge was not the most successful Elon experiment, sadly.
Wasn't that effective? Okay, this is the third one. I imagine you guys don't have 3 for 3, but okay. Bruce, your company is recruiting from my company. They've hired one person already.
Steve Jobs.
Oh, very good.
Jesus, I was not one. I couldn't
Sam
even get an
is
answer
like
out on
tech
2 of them.
trivia man. Like this is
Jesus.
If there was $1 million to win, he would have won it here.
I mean, Sam, is this a game you play at home, like on your spare time? I don't.
I'm. What did they say? I'm like very online. I'm just like Asid and you, Mark. I'm like reading Twitter all day.
Audience, let me finish the email so that they know what it is. Bruce, Adobe is recruiting from Apple. They've hired one person already and they're calling lots more. Imagine they've just hired one person by now. Like, this is an email after one person was hired. I have a standing policy with our recruiters that we don't recruit from Adobe. It seems you have a different policy. One of us must change our policy. Please let me know who. It's just like, it's so good. It's so good. And it's so intense for one hire made. Like, these were companies with thousands of employees at the time. The guy made one hire. He had one Apple employee.
Must have been a really important one.
Yeah.
We don't know who the employee was.
Steve Jobs is my favorite tech communicator. I think like watching him speak, Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, any video where they're talking, you just want to listen. You just want to hear how they explain ideas.
And Steve Jobs, even there's a decent distance between him and Bezos. Like, Bezos is really good, but he doesn't have that, I just find that there's no one at the Steve Jobs level. That's like there's a difference there.
It's the style, his tempo, his
Bezos
pace of
is a
speech,
very
everything
good
of the way
writer.
he delivers.
Bezos was probably the best writer out of all of them. Okay, topic number 2. I want to talk about marketers in their 40s and 50s. There's this thing happening. People are afraid to talk about it, so we just want to talk about it. I find that ageism exists in tech, and it is highest in marketing. And there's this idea there, Sam, you would have seen this in the market, that marketing has to be run by people that are cool, and the older you get, the less cool you are. There's this, I think this thought process that's just there. It's out there. And so as marketers get older, I find that there's always this question when we do executive searches, we see it are they going to be able to really hit the mark, break through, do all of these things? And I find that was always there. And now there's this new element of AI. And with AI, there's a question that the older you are, the harder it's going to be to come to terms with this technology. If you are in your early 20s, you're an AI native, the way that people in their 30s are social media natives. And so the older you are, the harder it's going to get. And I'm worried that really good marketers are wrestling with these two things, where A, just the standard ageism, and then B, this idea around AI ability to adjust. And it's going to make it really, really difficult for people that are late 40s, 50s, maybe late 50s to get great jobs and continue doing what they're doing. Sam, I want to start with you because you run a community that has lots of marketers. You must hear people worried about this. I hear it. Like, thoughts on this dynamic?
People are absolutely worried. They're terrified. They feel like they're not going to be even considered for specific roles. I think self-awareness is very important. You have to know at what altitude you can play at. There are big company CMOs, and they're doing a good job, and their job is still broad brush allocation of resources with some level of brand involvement. And those people are still doing okay. If that big company person
That's
tries to
interesting.
drop into Mark's company to be VP of marketing at Quotient, I think they would be in significant trouble. Not saying Quotient isn't a big company, just saying relative to, Hewlett Packard or Adobe or something like that. So I think you've got to know thyself and really understand where you're going to play. And then, the frustration that people have is that they felt like they played the game correctly, and they felt like they did what they were supposed to do. They came up through the ranks, they paid their dues. And now, to the point of our conversation earlier, the roles are being collapsed. Marketing is being folded into CRO responsibilities a lot of the time. And they feel like they're being asked to relearn things that they felt like they'd already learned. And they feel like that's unfair. And I would probably agree, it is unfair. But nevertheless, you've got to be able to build your own stuff, at least to prototype it, at least to show that you are hip and with it. I don't think it means you start using, low key or high key in all of your conversations to show that you're one of the youth. But I do think you need to be able to prototype ideas in creative ways. And I will say, I am married to the co-founder, but this company Ladago, I think, is doing some interesting stuff because what they did with AI was they built a video game, and it's they do software for trade show management. So it's like a Space Invader style game where you're zapping leads that might come by your booth. But the point is, you can one shot a fairly interesting arcade video game with an idea. That is a great use of AI. That is the opposite use of generating, as Mark was saying, like 1,000 blog articles that are all written like crap and that, are solely intended cynically to like SEO or AEO, in some cheap way. So I think you got to be able to be creative and imaginative. That is the power of AI is the ability to one shot something that you just dreamed up and bring it into life as a prototype. And that's what people have to be focused on, but they have to know how to use these tools.
Yeah, I would say that my concern with the sort of casting an entire age group in some way, shape, or form is that like you need to be curious. I don't care how old you are. You need to like to learn the new things. Like I'm sorry if you don't like to learn new things and you're just very happy working and doing the same thing that you did 30 years ago, then you're not going to do well in any context, AI or no AI. So sometimes we take we took that rigidity of thought and we apply it to an age group. But I don't know. I work with a lot of fractional CMOs, and some of these guys are much older than me, and I'm considered Gen X, and they're hacking away and trying things and experimenting and playing around exactly as Sam's describing, and it's wonderful. I don't care how old they are; their age doesn't matter. One guy I work with, he's got like a big Santa Claus beard, and he's hacking away and doing all these cool things. And he's like, "Oh, this proposal I put together using Cloud Code." I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And he has a natural curiosity, and this is not like it's going to sound like a commercial. Everyone's just stay curious. Yeah, you should stay curious. I think these are pretty easy things to learn. It's not like we're asking people to learn, hardcore programming languages here. It's quite the opposite. Actually, you're able to be as creative as you want to be. So for folks who are curious, I don't think they're going to have any problems finding. If you're curious and you got experience, I think you're going to hopefully have an easy time finding something, right?
You know, I
Um,
think I think people that are older, they have this one built-in advantage, which is so many of the buyers of all these things are their age group. And if you're a marketer, you have a comparative advantage where you can reference things from the past that will connect deeply. Like an arcade game will connect with a certain generation far more than another. And so if you're really young, you might not get it the way that we all might get it because we've actually played the arcade games and it was such a nostalgic moment, etc. Right. And so I think there's the advantage of being able to reference the past if you have that ability to bring it in and say, okay, let me contextualize it to the moment and use that in like a brand play. But I would say that I noticed this on the recruitment side. Age really plays out. Like it really plays out and plays out. Like people have a hard time saying it, so they'll say it in all sorts of interesting ways. Like looking for somebody with high energy. High energy is like I need somebody who's 30 to
Oh,
30.
that's the code. That's the
Yeah, yeah,
code for
high
age.
energy
Okay.
is like an age, basically. Yeah, I need age. Like I need a certain age. Um, and then they'll say something like, "You see, this recruitment's fascinating. We have a lot of men in this team, and so that's basically saying, please don't show me men. It's like you see these ways of doing it. I notice in marketing, the energy question comes up a lot. I'm looking for somebody who's high energy, who's just like at the point in their career where they want to do work. It's like, okay, I think you're talking about a particular age. How does a person show this? So there's the part of like, I'm going like your friend with the big beard, right, is doing the thing. But then your friend with the big beard looks like a man with a big old beard, like Santa Claus, right? Like, how does
It's,
Santa
it looks
Claus
like
how, how does Santa Claus get the interview at a Series B company? Like, what does Santa Claus have to do to be like interesting to them? What do you think?
yeah, that's a great question. I'm not entirely sure from a Series B company, especially a hot Series B AI company. That might be a tough sell.
That's a tough
Other
sell,
than
right?
just well, I think if that person becomes if their brand is out there, if they're sort of known as a legend, right? Like there's like, oh yeah, like that so and so, that guy was able to do X, Y, and Z at these companies. Look at him, and he's out there, he's writing, he's being public, he's his sort of his legend continues to grow. He continues to promote his own brand. I think that's someone that a Series B company would be like, oh my God, yeah, we're bringing in, someone to come and help us, someone who has
As an
years of experience.
advisor,
That's a positive.
we're gonna
But it
put him
might
on
it
the
might be the
advisory.
advisor, or what I'm seeing a ton of is the fractional CMO. You must be
Yeah,
seeing this a ton. Sam, you got
yeah.
to be seeing fractional CMOs are everywhere. They're all over the place. And so I'm seeing a ton of that. But the fractional CMOs are not young; they're actually older in most cases. And
Maybe
so, hey, maybe
that's
I
the
can't.
problem. Like maybe that's what's showing us like exactly what the issue is. I won't hire you full time. I'll test you on a fractional basis. Um, what do you think, Sam, is like if you're advising somebody who's getting into marketing, is it just the safest bet is go be a marketer at a big company then? Seems like it's less turnover. The job is like more around capital allocation than anything else. And so it's like it's easier to be able to manage through waves. Is it just go big company? Like, why are you crazy and being a marketer at startup?
Well, I think most of the time people don't really have the choice that we presume they have because people are just drawn to either impact and experimentation, or they're drawn to process and resources. And so I think go work at a big company. I could tell you that, Asad, and nothing would happen. You would just stand there looking at me because you are simply not a big company person, and neither am I. I mean, I'm talking my book here, but I got to say, one way or the other, you need to do two things. You need to, it's what Mark said, it's curiosity, and that curiosity needs to manifest itself in terms of devouring educational resources like books, reading books, and learning. And the second is involvement in communities. You have to be, and it doesn't have to be Pavilion. You could be involved in, one of these GTM engineering meetups that Clay's always hosting. But one way or the other, you need to be exposing yourself to new ideas, and you cannot just assume. I would think it would be a very bad assumption for you to assume that the company that employs you is going to provide all of the resources you need to get trained and developed. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it's about go to work at a big company. I feel like it's make sure you're out and about in person, building relationships, and then taking what you learn to try and experiment with stuff that
This
you're
part of
building.
like the company can't train you right now. Like as a CEO,
Yeah.
like completely, like I don't know what to put the training around, like what training to provide. Like, it's just things are moving so quickly. It's like we'd have to have a strong point of view to then develop some training around it. And it's like, I don't know, like it's
Yes, it's
really
it's
hard to
hard to
do
see the
right now.
future right now. I agree.
It's
It is
really
very hard to see
hard.
the future. So it's
And then
hard
be
to
like,
hard to do any
this thing
planning.
is like, and things just keep moving. So it's like, even when you develop a strong point of view somewhere, it moves. And so you're like, oh shit. So you just have to like keep trying to like come to terms with the moment in time. And it's really hard to help employees in a moment like this. It's really, really hard. And then it feels like you're not doing a good enough job as a as a executive team, because you're like, are we really enabling our people in the best way possible? But we're not. As an organization, I don't think organizations are capable of doing that today. It's really strange. It's an odd.
The only forward-looking training that I've seen at this point is not craft, it's AI. Just it's once again, like, our industry has the highest level of utilization of AI. Other industries, other parts of companies are still in their infancy. I mean, we get on these, we'll do, these like Claude, office
Yeah, but
hours, with
most
folks, and they
companies
don't
are
know
using
anything.
AI really shit. Like, even when I
They're
go,
using it horribly. They don't know what
yeah,
they're
even
doing.
these
Yes,
AI, like
it's
even the AI
so that
labs
would be
and
the
all.
enablement. I would say, go learn how to go learn how to use a project in
It's
cowork. Like something as simple as that. They don't even know how to do.
yeah.
It's crazy. The bar is on the ground. It's really
I
not.
feel
But
I feel like a bad CEO sometimes these days, because I'm like, I don't know if we're providing an advantage to our people when it comes to using this powerful technology. I feel like, and yeah, we might just not be able to as organizations, and maybe the only way is to ourselves as human beings be trying to consume it. And there's going to be a point maybe next year or something where we can like sit down and things have settled down, where you can like develop a use case that's actually going to be sticky and do training around it and reinforcement around it. But other than in code and in a few use cases, I think it's just so fresh, so new, so wild that it's really hard to do that. And so most of my
yeah,
employees are recruiters. There isn't a lot of like world-class use cases in recruitment right now that are
I am
there.
finding that I'm doing less. Like, when I get on the phone with someone, it's not about necessarily Quotient. It's about how to use AI as a marketer. That's the bulk of my conversation. I was on a call the other day where I spent an hour, and it was like, I honestly was just simply talking about what you can do with AI. And I wasn't even necessarily only talking about just my own products. I was talking about, just sort of broadly. And like, we've actually downshifted a lot of our like our marketing and some of this content that we're about to put out over the next few weeks to just be more foundational, basic, just like how to, you know. And it's not even how to for Quotient. It's how to, like, so. I mean, as far as that's just to do the basic stuff.
I have a question around this. Like everything is positioning, or everything is a counter position of some sort. Is it like, Sam, you're hiring somebody to do copywriting at Pavilion, a writer at Pavilion, copywriter. And if the person comes to you and says, hey, I don't use any AI, I don't even have an account. That's the position I've taken. I think good copywriting comes from me and my soul, and I don't use any of it. Is that an interesting counter position these days? Would you be
No.
curious?
I'd be curious. I definitely wouldn't hire the person. I want. I need something.
So you're
I
gonna be
need something
slow.
more sophisticated than that. That's a very level one. I'm. Everybody else is going to use a car. I'm going to walk. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah, like I'm
I'll see
into
you
all.
later. You need to be.
Okay.
It's Picasso. It's James Joyce. It's every artist. You need to master the fundamentals. Then you can iterate and experiment on top. At this point, marketing use of AI is part of the fundamentals. You can react to it and say, I use AI to research and to structure and organize. And sometimes it gives me one or two sentences, but then I go in and make it my own. And I have a point of view on how I do that. Okay, that sounds
That's
quite useful,
interesting.
actually. But that's different than I don't use AI. It's like, okay, well, you should. It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we have this with developers right now. We're hiring a developer. We used to have just a written test, and they have to come in and just, they have to write the code, no help, no Claude, no nothing, no cursor. And we started to realize that, like, that's not the best measurement of how they're going to look and how productive they're going to be, because there are folks who were basically not using the agents to their fullest, right?
That's like
So
my
we had to
school
switch up
used
our
to
interview
say, do
process.
math
We switched
without
it
a
up.
calculator. Like, why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we want to. I mean, you have some level of, like, can you write something as simple as a sorting algorithm? But the reality is to make sure they're not completely full of full of shit. But seeing how they use the AI is now part of the interview process. It's become part of the interview process, because if you are not efficient, then you're not that. I mean, we're all looking for the 10x developer, but the 10x developer who knows how to use AI is a 100x developer. And so it's the same thing with the marketer. You want to hire that 10x marketer, but the marketer who knows how to use AI is a 100x marketer, and we will take that. We would definitely want that person. That's the person we want on the team. So it's now part of the interview process, more as much as as just
Sometimes I
doing the
wonder
basics.
then, the impact of AI in code is so strong, and so many of the founders are technical founders, and so many of these companies have so many engineers, and so much of the narrative around where we are today is downstream of these people at the very edge. And I wonder how much of their worldview is just shaped by engineering. Like, it's like they see that, they see its potential, and they kind of extrapolate that more broadly. And we listen to that and we're like, these companies must be doing everything so differently, and they must be, and we're so far behind. And I really wonder if that's the case. Like, I wonder how different
I think you're
their
onto
recruitment
something
team
there.
is, or their sales
Yes,
team. I don't know if it's all that different right now.
you are 100% on that one, by the way, because I have experienced that firsthand. As I have, so for me, naturally I would sell into my own industry, which we do. We obviously sell this to other software companies, AI companies. There was a period of time, which I think is coming to an end, but there was a period of time when everybody was Claude pilled, which I think many people still are Claude pilled. But there was a time when it was really rampant. It was a full Claude
Yeah.
pilled. Where I would get on the phone and they'd say, "No, actually, we have an engineer who's just going to build out the entire marketing team in agents. So we're not interested in what you're offering." I said, "Really? Okay." So yeah, oh yeah, we have an agent who does this and then puts out a blog and then does that and sends this over here. I said, "All right, good luck with that, man. That's going to be great for you. I think it's going to go really well." And so there was, yes, the engineering
Yeah.
leader, the CEO who was an engineer, was
So we're just gonna
basically,
like
or
agent the crap out of
he's
everything.
like,
And
"We're
we're
just
going
going to agent every part of the company." And I said, "Okay, good luck with that." I go, it was very clear that they didn't know anything about marketing. They knew nothing about marketing. I mean, zero, less than zero, actually. But they took that engineering worldview and they said, "We're just going to, I don't know, I can ask Claude how to market and kind of go from there." And, many of those companies have come back to us months later after, complaining why their outbound isn't working, complaining why their content isn't resonating, complaining why they have no leads. And I'm like, "Yep, I'm happy to help you. I'm not going to hold it against you. It's fine." But that worldview that you're describing, 100%, that worldview is dominant on X. So if
yeah,
you really
for
want
sure.
that reinforcing loop, I mean, if I see another X post that tells me some skill just came out and how we're all so cooked, that's my favorite line
Yeah,
ever. We're
everybody's
all so
cooked all
cooked.
the
Did you know,
time.
Sam, we're cooked? I didn't. We're all cooked.
I'm
Apparently,
cooked. I'm in the
everyone's
spot
cooked at
right
all
now, my
times.
brother.
Exactly. So I mean,
Let's go.
those posts drive me bananas, but they are being fed to every single one of
Yeah, it's
our brethren
wild.
here in the tech space,
I used to like
and it's
read
just
this shit and be
dangerous.
like, man, of course I'm a recruitment company. I'm far behind. And then like you get to know these people. And you're, okay, so what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, you do nothing, man. You're just talking crap, like just blowing hot air up everyone's ass. Okay, this has been great. It's time for Bulls versus Bears.
Bulls versus Bears.
I have questions, I want opinions, and I am excited to jump into this. Sam, my question for you is the future of the old marketing tech companies, the sixth senses of the world. Are you bullish or bearish about companies that have distribution, have some size and scale, but are the SaaS era marketing platforms? Bullish or bearish?
Extremely bearish.
Extremely bearish. That's not even a little bearish. That's like a strong point of view.
I think here's one way of saying it. These companies traded multiple times on their journeys to 2 to 300 million in revenue. And in so doing, the founders pieced out and they brought in professional managers. And the professional managers don't have any native or intuitive sense for what's going to happen with AI for the most part. So while it's nice that they have distribution, they have a tremendous amount of technical debt and they have a tremendous amount of cultural debt around how things are done, who their customers are. And all of it at this point has been passed off from the person that was the original spark, meaning the founder, to the person that is now, the third person in line. And it's particularly acute if any of these companies traded through private equity, if they're Vista owned or something like that. There's not going to be product innovation and there's not going to be vision. And so even though you would say, okay, well, they have thousands of customers, I think they're more cooked than ZoomInfo, and that's because Henry Schuck is still at ZoomInfo. So maybe there's a chance there. But, the founders of Sixth Sense and Marketo and all of these companies, they've been gone a very long time.
Very
And I
long
think what
time.
we see with HubSpot is that this is not a committee style thing. Why is Salesforce going to do better than HubSpot? Because Benioff
It's
is
Mr.
still there.
Benioff.
Yeah. And
Yep.
he's still deeply involved. And, somebody wrote on X or LinkedIn, like maybe Halligan should go back and run HubSpot. I think that's true. I don't think he wants to.
I don't want him to personally.
Right, exactly. I'm sure
I
you'd rather
love that he
compete with
left.
this rotating cast of characters at HubSpot than
so
compete
excited.
with Halligan.
And I have deep respect for that organization, that company, and what's been built over the years. But when he left, I was like, okay, time to start a company.
Yeah. So
I saw it as opportunity.
I think it's not about anything other than I do believe that founders generate alpha and there needs to be a point of view. And this is a moment for a fresh point of view. So it's more of a moment for Quotient than it is for HubSpot because now is when Marc has developed his point of view. Yeah. And I think the professional management class can put things on autopilot. It's just not a time that autopilot's going to work.
You see
agree
this with
1,000%
more than anywhere else, actually. Like it's stark. It's actually quite stark. It's kind of jarring, actually, the HubSpot one.
It's wonderful, just for the record.
You're like, this is great.
Not for HubSpot shareholders and not for AJ, but other than
you're
that,
sending bots to long strange trips so that he goes deeper with podcasting. It's like, this is a great career for me.
I think you should keep doing it. Yeah.
Hey,
I think the other founder should leave too.
It's all you.
I would love if their editor CTO left too. That'd be great. I think he should do it. I don't know why he's still there.
He hasn't been much of an advantage, to be honest, from a product side. So I think wouldn't worry about that. Like
he doesn't seem like he knows. He seems like he's being allowed to play in the background. I don't see how there's no coherent product strategy.
Yeah, there's emerging. It's not working.
Your turn, Marc.
Marc, for you, I want to pick a company from the SaaS era that's marketing related. And I want to get your thoughts on it because it's one that confuses me. Are you bullish or bearish about Figma's future?
Oh, that's a good one.
Figma is an interesting one. It's like,
yes,
it's cool. It's like a really sharp founder. It's founder-led. It's in that design space. It feels cooler and new, but it's getting killed in the public markets right now as well. And then you see competition from all these different sides. Are you bullish or bearish about Figma's space in the marketing tech landscape?
Yeah, I throw Figma, Canva in that same bucket because I love both of those products, and they're both still founder-led, and they're beautiful products. I mean, they really are.
Yeah,
they're
really
well crafted. I go back and forth. I would have said I was still very bullish because I still use them. But even in my last piece of content, last two pieces of content that Max and I put in, my co-founder, have put out, we were able to use the latest image models from OpenAI to create pretty damn good images that, like the mood board concept, like that you see with Midjourney, and like being able to keep consistency and character consistency. Man, oof. Honestly, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I think I'd give you a different answer than right now. Unless they can come up with some proprietary technology, unless they are the publishers of that next great image model and not OpenAI and not Gemini, then I think there's some troubled waters ahead here, because they're beautiful products. They're beautiful products, but they are just I've seen it with my own eyes.
There is a world in which people are saying that more and more companies are going to go back. You know how for a while everybody was building a model and then everyone stopped making models and it started becoming the app. Like there might be a world in which more people have to go into doing more on the model front. Like taking.
Well, that's the thing. If you have a data asset, why? I mean, at this point, like it's not a bad thing to do. NVIDIA is going to make it very easy to do.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to see it. That hyperscalers, NVIDIA, they're going to make it much easier to do than it used to be, and you don't need the gaggle of PhD super geniuses that exist in Anthropic and OpenAI as much as you used to. And so it's going to become cheaper to train your own model and to build your own model. And it's a great question though. And Figma and Canva specifically are like, they're both incredible companies too. Great leadership, but they're going to have to navigate this the hard way. And I would use Figma
from a previous era. I think a lot of what we've seen is like, the greatest leader, I think, was Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs was relevant across multiple platform shifts, highly relevant, right?
Yeah.
And was at the very edge during those platform shifts. What we're finding is how rare it is for founder CEOs to be able to play in different platform shifts. Like we're noticing this right now with so many companies. It's so stark. And so you kind of go back to him and you're like, holy shit, like to be able to be so good in such different worlds was, I think people don't appreciate that part of him enough, because I don't know who else has that.
Yeah, he was at many different types of companies. I will say through the eras, I mean, this is obviously Marc Benioff is I mean, I worked with him very closely for many years. I fan is an understatement of what he's done through now 26 years running the company, being ahead of every turn. And so, when Salesforce was getting beaten up in markets, I was like, yeah, I'm a buyer. Like
You were
I'm
a
a buyer
buyer?
of Marc. I'm a buyer of Benioff because I have faith that he will
I like
he will figure
that
this
thesis.
out.
I like that a lot. Jeremy Giffen was on Invest Like the Best, and he was talking about the simplest investment thesis is the best, like long Marc Benioff or long Elon.
Yeah.
I like what you said, Mark.
That's literally my portfolio.
Long is an easy one.
Yeah, it is easy because in the end, like the world is changing so fast, right? So how else can you? You can't bet on a particular technology or space as much as you can the people to navigate the changing landscape.
These days, I'm just momentum. I'm in like all the momentum stocks. Right?
You're
I'm
day
just like
trading.
holding on to
He's
Micron.
always,
Like,
he is
let's
a day
go.
trader.
I
You never know
swear.
what his returns are net of fees, Mark. Net of fees.
I don't
he's
even-
probably-
Exactly.
I'm in Bloom Energy. I have no idea what to do. I'm in Bloom Energy right now. Okay.
Mark, it's been awesome having you on the show. Thanks for being our guest. Congrats on Quotient. We're excited to cheer you on. We're excited to celebrate you. And yeah, it's been a great conversation. If folks are listening, give us some love on YouTube. Give us a like and smash the subscribe button and tell your friends. If you are listening on Spotify, give us 5 stars, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time.